It will be difficult, I know. All we need to do is keep moving forward. Don't leave. It will not cease. There will never be another Wolfpack. Fans are curious. What happened to Bam Bam Brown? Real-life program for many years, Alaskan Bush People have been excellent. However, Bam, the most reserved person in the group, has been Bam Brown. To make matters worse, Bam Bam has been experiencing a horrible catastrophe. Pay close attention as we explain everything in detail. There is life after all the catastrophes. Joshua's decision to leave the Alaskan Bush People in 2016 to 2017 marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life. Although there are no reports of him and Allison Kagan being married, he remained with them because it was still in line with his innate desires. They both reside on their 100-foot boat, which they call Fathom This, in the year 2024. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. And hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Now, back to the topic. What we were talking about was. It's anchored off the US coast and demonstrates their shared passion for engineering and environmentally friendly living. However, they have made their home in the northern Washington Hills, not far from their original location. However, the family will continue to live on the 435 acres of the North Star Ranch. In mid-2024, Bam Bam confirmed that the entire Brown family was still living on the ranch, despite certain Brown family members, Matthew Jeremiah, Solomon Isaiah Bear, Gabriel Gabe, Noah Dark Cloud, Amora Jean, Birdie, and Merry Christmas Rain, talking about occasionally returning to Alaska. Amy Brown is still alive and well after having a cancer scare before. She is the family's unifying factor and takes choices on the land. Some believe that the reason Bam Bam stays near the land is because of her ongoing presence. Bam Bam has also had a job change. In particular, since Alaskan Bush People ceased airing new episodes on December 4, 2022, he has become a techpreneur. According to Factual America, he founded a business that focused on environmentally friendly technological solutions, particularly those that improved off-grid living. He also learned how to construct systems and fix mechanical issues at a young age. To keep the family alive, he was frequently the one who manufactured tools out of scraps, adjusted solar panels, or fixed radios. Although he couldn't call it that at the time, he was a teenager interested in electrical engineering and green energy, as well as a practical problem solver. His childhood fishing boat experiences have paid off as an adult, as he is regarded as the family's go-to expert when they are out on the water. He is skilled in boat maintenance, fishing, and navigation. When he and his companion Allison Kagan kept a 100-foot boat in their house, it became evident that this ability fueled his desire to become an engineer. In addition, he was interested in ethical shooting practices and wildlife conservation, topics he occasionally discussed with fans and in unfilmed interviews. He is also renowned for maintaining private issues and establishing boundaries. His moniker, the family's lone wolf, followed him around for years as a result. Although he hasn't disclosed many details about his current projects, the fact that he has lived in the woods and developed his nomadic skills leads me to believe that he may be interested in water filtration, green energy, or smart home designs. Partnerships in documentaries and education have resulted from this new venture. According to experts in the area, he may be requested to do a demonstration that highlights his innovative and captivating use of survival technologies. He is still frequently referred to as the introverted, quiet creative who is gradually transitioning from reality TV to a socially impactful innovator. On social media, he also has a little following. His estimated net worth as of 2024 is $350,000, primarily from his profits from reality shows, appearances, and his fledgling eco-friendly software company. Bam Bam was killed in the vehicle crash. Joshua Bam Bam Brown was murdered in an automobile accident in the afternoon of May 20, 2022. The accident happened in Riverside on State Route 97 in Okanogan County, Washington. This occurred as a consequence of an accident involving a black Chevrolet Camaro at approximately 2:30 p.m. According to the Washington State Patrol, Bam Bam's 2015 GMC Sierra was traveling north when the black Chevrolet, which was traveling south, abruptly crossed the center line. The Camaro was being driven by 38-year-old Gabriela Garcia Harrison. She was traveling with a 24-year-old woman named Lena Martinez Gonzalez from Washington, D.C. It was tragic to hear that Gonzalez passed away at the scene of the tragedy. Both witnesses to the collision and investigators have reiterated that Harrison's vehicle lost control, most likely due to the rainy and slick roadways earlier in the day. Her automobile crossed into Bam Bam's lane and struck the corner of his truck. Due to this maneuver, Bam Bam attempted to veer to the right in order to avoid the approaching vehicle, but there was not enough time or room to do so. The collision forced both vehicles off the road, and Bam Bam's truck wound up in a ditch. Rescue personnel declared the Camaro passenger dead as soon as they arrived at the scene of the collision. The driver, Harrison, received first care at Mid-Valley Hospital. After that, she was transported by air to Wenatchee's Central Washington Hospital for more treatment. The extent of her injuries in the collision was not fully reported by the news outlets. Joshua Brown, also called Bam Bam, was also transported to the Mid-Valley Hospital. Despite having bruising and backache, his injuries were deemed mild. He received medical attention following the accident and was promptly sent home. According to the authorities, because Bam Bam was wearing his seatbelt at the time of the collision, he was abiding by all safety regulations. Additionally, he was not intoxicated and was not at all responsible for the mishap, according to others. Washington State Patrol Officer Jeremy Weber noted in a public statement that Bam Bam was not at fault for the collision, had been driving at the speed limit, and had attempted to avoid it by swerving in and out of traffic. Additionally, investigators determined that the accident was directly caused by the Camaro crossing the middle line. Additionally, toxicology reports were still being processed, so it was unknown whether Harrison, the other motorist, was under the influence of alcohol or drugs at the time of the collision. Bam Bam was not charged, and there were no indications that he would face any legal or criminal consequences. Despite knowing what he needed to do to prevent the accident and having the law on his side, Joshua was never the same after it happened. If anything, his already intense desire to remain anonymous and out of the spotlight intensified. He made no public remarks, interviews, or statements regarding the crash or the number of fatalities. He has been quite silent, despite the fact that several of his brothers have maintained social media connections with admirers. He didn't share anything on social media in the weeks following the disaster. It is very unusual for Alaskan Bush people to remain silent about the catastrophe. Damage to the GMC Sierra and the Camaro was photographed and posted online in local news at the time, demonstrating the extent of the accident's severity at the time and in subsequent seasons. The severity of the crash scene was even evident in photos taken by the District 6 office of the Washington State Patrol. In this instance, the wet highway had evidence marks, emergency personnel, and twisted metal. These photos reinforced the narrative that the disaster came dangerously close to killing more people than it actually did. The crash was covered by numerous news outlets, including Pop Culture, Starcasm, and KPQAM 560 News Radio. As well as numerous other local and national websites. Each of these tales adhered to a particular narrative. Bam Bam wasn't the cause of the accident. After a brief stay in the hospital, he was released. It was reported that he cooperated fully with the authorities during the investigation. This indicated, in English, that Bam Bam had not had any chronic wounds. However, the extent to which losing a fellow motorist impacted his mental and emotional well-being was not examined. Bam Bam did what he always did after taking enough time off to recover, even though he wasn't at fault. He returned to his regular daily routine and hasn't been in the news since, especially for negative reasons. However, press papers and police reports still provide details of the horrific incident. However, he has not released an official statement explaining the accident or its cause. There is a catastrophe at the North Star Ranch. The Brown family experienced yet another traumatic incident in August 2020. North Star Ranch burned down as a massive wildfire swept from Palmer Mountain to their land. Their home and numerous neighboring sheds were destroyed by the fire. Bear Brown subsequently posted on Instagram that, "A fire swept through our mountain, our home. It appears to be a significant loss." Following the incident, the Discovery Channel thanked the firefighters, confirmed that the family had safely exited the building, and requested viewers to donate supplies for the victims. Not only did Bam Bam lose his land in this fire, but it was also a terrible tragedy for him personally because the North Star Ranch represented his and Allison's dedication to sustainable living and self-reliance. He had constructed cabins, barns, and his own office, all of which were elevated above the earth. This meant he and his partner lost the years of hard work they had invested in the project. Over the following few weeks, the Brown family put a lot of effort into rebuilding their life and moving past the losses brought on by the fire. Both the body and the psyche were impacted by the renovation. Using his mechanical expertise to salvage systems and assess the extent of the damage, Bam Bam secretly planned the rebuild as a way to cope with his loss. But he didn't isolate himself from the rest of the family this time. He was planning while the cameras saw his brothers attempting to thank the firefighters and keep the animals safe. Bam Bam put a lot of effort into maintaining the ranch and caring for Amy for a long time, as evidenced by footage from the Discovery Channel's Billy Memorial episode and the behind-the-scenes updates provided by Bear Brown and Rain Brown. The house that had burned down was not simply Bam Bam's. It was the protection of the things that were very important to him. He has lost his strength, his freedom, and his creative potential. His parents' deaths gave him a renewed sense of motivation and introspection to do even better than before. The fire ruined a portion of the life he had created with Allison. The relationship between a child and their parents is quite uncommon. Because of this, the majority of the time, a parent's actions have an impact on their child, either positively or negatively. Imagine now that your parents are taken from you by the icy grasp of death without any time for preparation. Following her diagnosis of serious lung cancer on April 17, Amy Brown began managing her condition. Later, she would describe these periods of her life as being quite depressing. At the time, she was told that her chances of recovering from the illness were barely 3%. She would lose a significant amount of weight, to 77 pounds, and require constant attention and air. Billy made the decision to relocate his family to Southern California and leave their existence in the Alaskan forests as a result. This action contradicted the values of the Alaskan Bush People. Amy was able to receive excellent care at the University of California, Los Angeles Medical Center thanks to this. After that, Amy would get severe radiation therapy and treatment at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, one of the top cancer treatment facilities in the nation. The attention she received during this period was quite painful. Water was painful to drink because of the extreme pain. Her cancer symptoms would worsen first, but then they would begin to improve. The tumors in her lungs were significantly decreased by the end of 2017. She would then begin responding favorably to treatment. Her physicians declared her well at the end of 2018. "We've spent a lot of time here." In a 2017 interview that appeared on Destination America, she stated, "We never stopped praying, and now we're doing what we can to keep her alive." If it meant his wife would recover, he was willing to sacrifice the family brand's reputation without hesitation. "I'm still here even though people told me it was over and there was no way out." When Amy was completely recovered, she told People magazine these words. Her family purchased a 435-acre plot of land in Tanaskeet, Washington, which is located in the northern Cascade foothills, during this reprieve. Although Billy Brown was portrayed as tough and unstoppable, Bear and Rain claimed that at the time, he was shattered and in anguish, despite the fact that he frequently gave the children hope by giving them speeches on television. "He tried to hold it together for us, but you could see it was tearing him up inside," Rain said in a Discovery program. "We could all see how terrified he was." He experienced a health scare in October 2018. Country Living was informed by representatives of Discovery, the Alaskan Bush People home station, that Billy was hospitalized due to an upper respiratory infection. Bear Brown expressed the same thing in an Instagram post that he later removed. In the post, he reiterated that his father was in very bad health. His health issues had also been captured on film, so it wasn't the first time something similar had occurred. In 2015, he suffered a seizure that rendered him comatose, necessitating his hospitalization. Every now and then, Bam Bam claimed, something happened. People claimed that his decision to continue living in the mountains of Alaska exacerbated this illness. It was also said that he suffered from kidney and heart issues. It was unfortunate that by 2020, he was obviously weaker and less active than before. It was difficult for him to move around since he required more air and was frequently observed with nasal tubes in his nose. It was obvious that his health was deteriorating. Then, on February 7, 2021, Billy Brown unexpectedly passed away. The announcement that Bear Brown had passed away came next. "We are heartbroken to announce that our beloved patriarch Billy Brown passed away last night after suffering from a seizure," he said on his private Instagram account. He continued by saying that they would miss Billy terribly because he was their spouse, closest friend, and devoted father. Billy Brown passed away at the age of 68. The Discovery Channel paid tribute to Billy, stating that he was unique and that his heart guided the family's path. Billy's death shook Billy's entire family, but Amy was the most shocked. Amy had been treated, but she had survived. Though not as overt or passionate on social media as some of his brothers, Bam Bam's grief losing his father was evident in the teamwork displayed in episodes after Billy. On February 28 of the same month, a celebration was organized in his honor. He left behind some debts and property valued at approximately $415,000 when he passed away without leaving a will. Amy's role as his agent at the time was to handle all of these tasks. They therefore had to manage their grief while also ensuring the estate's survival. Every individual handles loss in a different way, and Bam Bam was no exception. Because he had been using social media sites frequently prior to Billy's passing, many noted that he had ceased using them. Additionally, he would avoid interviews and dedicate all of his time to working and spending time in nature. According to Screen Rant, Bam Bam maintained his customary composure on the anniversary of his father's passing, which helped to minimize the public sorrow. He learned to remain silent when living with his father, who is credited with saying, "When it is hard, that is when you must keep going." This demonstrates how private Bam Bam was. His romantic life and its impact on the Bush people of Alaska. Bam Bam would gradually begin to distance herself from it at the beginning of the 6th season of the show in late 2016. He announced his departure to everyone in February 2017 after temporarily but completely withdrawing. He was growing closer to Allison Kagan, which is why all of this occurred. It was the first time he discussed her on the show. However, in the first statement, he made no mention of the woman's identity. He just stated that he was profoundly in love with a woman he referred to as a city girl, and that he believed it was time to follow his heart. She did it, and he felt something awaken within of him. Unlike other girls, Allison was unique. She was one of the producers or supervising directors for Alaskan Bush People. She directed little over a dozen shows from 2015 to 2021. In fact, she has previously directed reality TV series such as 90 Day Fiancé and Teen Mom 2. His family did not support his choice of girlfriend, even though it would have been expected that they would. His family refused to change their thoughts, regardless of how often he praised Allison. Although the Brown family was okay with Bam Bam's past relationships, it is reported that his relationship with Allison caused a lot of problems. Although the primary cause remained unknown, others speculated that Allison's age. She was 10 years older than Joshua, might be a contributing factor. According to sources, Bam Bam felt compelled to shield her from relatives who disliked her due to her age and position as show leader. However, he would later claim that even walking down the sidewalk was an adventure and that it was difficult to get used to life outside the bush. He carefully considered his options in order to gain a deeper understanding of Ali's outlook on life. "I hope we can blend our lives and I can take her back to Alaska," he reportedly remarked. In November 2017, they purchased a 100-foot ferry and made numerous repairs before embarking on a new journey in 2018 by relocating to a boat. Ali's words to his Facebook friends demonstrated that his diligence was what created the boat. After Ali searched for the yacht and discovered it just before it was scheduled to be sold for scrap, the star renamed it Fathom instead of Osprey. "We have been gutting and repairing her ever since." In Charleston, South Carolina, the boat was occasionally tied down. In 2019, after learning that his mother, Amy Brown, had lung cancer, Bam Bam returned to Alaskan Bush People, despite his love of living on the water with Allison Kagan. This demonstrates that despite having found love, he was prepared to sacrifice himself for his family. He nevertheless placed a high value on his family. The Alaskan Bush People rose to fame in this way. The American docudrama-style reality TV program, which debuted on May 6, 2014, follows the Brown family as they attempt to adapt to life in the wilderness. It began as an exploration of a family's existence off the grid and alone, but it quickly became something extraordinary. The concept evolved into the 14-season Discovery Channel series Alaskan Bush People. From the beginning, Bam Bam was unique. He didn't want to be there all the time or enjoy being the center of attention. However, people became aware of his meticulous presence. People were aware of his ability to quickly resolve any issue, repair damaged equipment, and devise technical solutions. It seems more like he fixed the problem that his family had produced. However, the show was eventually deemed to be fraudulent, and the Browns were accused of making bogus permanent fund dividend claims by the Alaskan Department of Revenue in October 2014. This means that from 2009 to 2012, they were charged with feigning to reside in Alaska while spending a lot of time outside of the city. According to Distractify, in addition to the primary counts, the Brown family was charged with over 6 misdemeanors, including first- and second-degree stealing and first-degree unsworn lying. This was due to allegations that they had falsified documents regarding their time spent in Alaska in order to receive the annual oil payments that the government offered to its citizens. On November 18, 2015, Bam Bam and his father Billy entered a guilty plea to minor unsworn falsification, which resulted in the charges against them being withdrawn. This implied that the entire family was accountable. As a result, they were placed under house arrest for 30 days and required to remain in a hotel. In order to resolve the matter, they also had to pay a $2,000 fine and complete 40 hours of community service. The Anchorage Daily News reports that Joshua Bam Bam made a $1,174 payment. Billy would later admit full responsibility on the air. "Because of how we live our lives and how we often travel in strange ways, I didn't keep good track of our movements," he stated. "I accept full responsibility for submitting a benefit application without verifying that we fulfilled the requirements." The audience was upset with the show at the time of the sentence. When the Brown family claimed to live off the grid full-time, several people didn't trust them and questioned whether the show was real. However, Bam Bam's actions at this period were unexpected. He kept a low profile, confessed to his crime, and followed the law. After finishing, he returned to his family's support without voicing any grievances in public. In reality, who is Bam Bam Brown? Billy and Amy Brown welcomed Joshua into the world on September 18, 1984. His more well-known name is Bam Bam Brown. Out of 7 children, he is the second. He was born in Fort Worth, Texas, according to some accounts. But his family relocated to Alaska to live off the grid when he was 18 months old. In Alaska, his parents made the decision to raise him and his brothers in a remote area, distant from other people. His early years were characterized by frequent moves as they lived on their fishing boats for the majority of their upbringing. While homeschooled, he acquired academic and informal skills such as math, reading, and writing. Hunting, fishing, tracking, and shelter construction were among the survival skills he acquired. It was well known that Bam Bam enjoyed reading and that hiding behind a favorite tree to read by himself was his favorite pastime. When he was younger, he enjoyed bouncing around the home and running into walls, much like the feisty infant from the Flintstones cartoon Bam Bam, who was renowned for his unexpected power and wild energy. This is the origin of his moniker. From an early age, he loved technology and school and had a sharp analytical mind. In an area with a lot of nature, lakes, and woodlands, this was particularly remarkable. This was what set him apart from his brothers. Because he is constantly engaged in structure and problem-solving, people refer to him as the logical sibling. Because he prefers to work over getting into trouble, he is sometimes referred to as the quietest of the Alaskan brothers. He would go on to launch a company in 2024 that would concentrate on developing innovative eco-friendly living strategies.